Welcome back. We spend a lot of time here analyzing success. We really do. We look at the products that work, the strategies that paid off, all the unicorns of the business and entertainment world.
It's definitely more fun to talk about the win.
It is. But sometimes I think the most valuable lessons, and certainly the most shocking ones, come from looking at the wreckage. Today we are looking at a smoking crater where a cultural monolith used to be.
That's not an exaggeration. It really is a fascinating, if somewhat grim case study in asset management.
Or mismanagement.
Or rather, mismanagement. Because we aren't talking about some niche show that got canceled after one season. We are talking about a juggernaut, a global phenomenon.
We are talking, of course, about Stranger Things, specifically the aftermath of the season 5 finale. Now, if you've been anywhere near the internet lately or just, listening to people at coffee shops, the vibe isn't triumphant conclusion to a decade-long saga.
Not at all.
It's confusion, it's anger, it's a lot of people asking, what did I just watch? And maybe more importantly, is that really it?
Right. And we aren't just here to gossip about fan theories or, review the CGI or rate the acting performances in a vacuum. That's not what we do.
No.
We have a specific stack of materials today, primarily a transcript from the industry commentators at Clownfish TV, and it paints a really chaotic picture of what went down behind the scenes.
It really.
We're looking at a collision of corporate strategy, creative burnout, and what happens when you alienate your core customer base at the very last second.
It's almost like a textbook example of how not to stick the landing. I mean, it's breathtaking in its failure, in a way.
It is.
So the mission for today is to unpack how a franchise that was arguably Netflix's crown jewel, the show that defined binge watching for an entire generation, potentially broke its fandom at the finish line.
Completely broke it.
We're going to talk about a social media disaster involving a lead actor that is... it's honestly hard to believe. It's something you just don't. Then there's this bizarre situation with a Broadway play that apparently holds all the narrative keys, which is a whole other can of worms.
A very expensive can of worms.
And the accusation that the creators, the Duffer Brothers, maybe they just checked out.
It's a story about storytelling, sure. But more than that, it's a business story. It's about the danger of building these cinematic universes, the cash grab accusation, and the total disconnect between what a boardroom wants, which is infinite content.
Well, always more.
And what an audience, which is a satisfying conclusion, an end.
And it all starts with a single word. One word posted on Instagram that might have done more damage to the show's legacy than any bad review ever could.
The nope heard round the world.
Let's get into that, because this isn't just some random extra or, a disgruntled crew member. This involves Matthew Modine.
Dr. Brenner.
Papa
himself. A legacy character.
Yes.
This is the guy who's been haunting the show from the very beginning. He is the architect of the entire show's mythology. He's the reason Eleven is who she is.
Yeah.
His shadow looms over everything, even when he's not on screen.
Exactly. He's been there since minute 1. Now, usually when a show ends, even if it's a disaster, right? Even if the finale is universally panned, like, say, Game of Thrones.
Right.
You see the cast posting these heartfelt tributes. It's almost automatic. Thanks for the memories. Love my Hawkins family. It was a bold, creative choice.
Yeah.
It's all PR-approved fluff.
It's part of the contract, basically. You support the product. That is rule number 1 of Hollywood promotion. You do not bite the hand that feeds you, especially while the meal is still being served to the public.
You circle the wagons.
You circle the wagons. You say, we are so proud of what we accomplished, even if you're gritting your teeth while you type it.
But not Papa. According to our source material, this all kicked off on Instagram. Matthew Modine posts a video, just some regular content, nothing controversial, just him, existing online.
As one does.
And then a fan jumps in the comment and asks a very direct question. Did you like the series finale?
It's such a simple question. And it's a minefield. Usually, even if an actor hated it, they have a script for this. They say something like, it was so emotional to see it end, or it was a difficult ending but necessary for the story. You pivot. You deflect.
Modine didn't pivot. He didn't deflect. He replied with one word.
Nope.
Just N-O, no accent.
It's stunning candor. Just nope. No exclamation point, no sad emoji, just the word, a flat denial.
Our source emphasizes that this single word destroyed the perception of the finale for a huge chunk of the fan. Why does that one word carry so much weight? Why did that one word break the...
It's all about validation. Think about it. When you watch something and you feel disappointed, especially with something you love, there's always this little voice in your head, right? Saying, maybe I just didn't get it. Maybe I'm being too critical. Maybe I missed the artistic vision.
Maybe I'm the problem.
Exactly. But when a main cast member, someone who knows the story inside and out, someone who lives in that world for 10 years, publicly disavows the ending, it acts as immediate confirmation bias. It's like a thunderclap.
It tells the audience, You aren't crazy. It really was that bad.
That's it, right there. It stops being haters on the internet, and it starts being the official stance of the talent. And Modine is a veteran. He's been around.
Yeah.
He's not some kid who doesn't know how media works.
Oh, he knows exactly what
He knows the weight his voice carries. By saying, nope, he isn't just offering an opinion. He's separating his professional reputation from the product. He's signaling, I am not responsible for this mess. Don't look at me.
That is heavy. That's a conscious uncoupling from the brand. But it gets deeper, right? It's not just him saying he didn't like it. This connects to a massive, almost desperate fan theory that our source brings up.
Oh yeah, the episode 9 theory.
Or, as the internet has dubbed it, conformity gate. Walk us through this, because it sounds like psychological coping on a massive scale.
It is literally the denial stage of grief played out in real time by millions. So the backlash to the finale, which was episode 8, was so severe that a significant portion of the fandom convinced themselves it couldn't be real.
They just refused to accept it.
They refused to accept that that was the ending they had waited years. So they didn't. They just invented a new reality.
So they thought it was a trick, like a big fake out.
They developed this whole theory that the bad ending we saw was actually a hallucination, a test, a simulation inside the show.
Like a dream sequence or something?
Even more malicious than that. The theory is called conformity gate, and it's this idea that the characters, and by extension, us, the audience, are being tested by some entity to see if we will accept a false, poorly written reality.
That is elaborate.
It's incredibly elaborate. The theory goes that the bad writing, the plot holes, the weird character choices, those were all intentional clues. They were breadcrumbs to tell us that this isn't the real story.
Okay, so where does episode 9 come in?
The theory claimed that there is a secret episode 9 waiting in the wing, that Netflix will drop it as a surprise, and it will reveal the real ending, the good ending, and fix everything.
That sounds incredibly desperate. It sounds like when you break up with someone and you convince yourself they're just taking some space and they'll be back next week with a ring.
It is a defense mechanism. It's bargaining on a global scale.
Yeah.
But here is where Matthew Modine just twists the knife.
Right.
A fan asked him about this theory specific. They went right to the source and asked, does Papa believe in episode 9?
Okay, and this is the moment where he could have shut it down. He could have been the adult in the room and said, no, guys, I appreciate the passion, but you need to accept the art. It's over. Go home.
Exactly. He could have been gentle but firm. He could have managed the fans' expectation. Instead, he replied, hoping so for the fans.
Hoping so. Wow. Just wow.
Think about the implication of that phrasing. He filmed the show. He knows the production schedule. He knows the contracts. He knows for a fact there is no secret. Episode 9.
Mm-hmm. Of course he does. You don't film a secret massive budget episode of television without the cast knowing.
The sets are struck. The crew has moved on. It doesn't exist. But by saying, hoping so for the fan, he is essentially saying, I know the ending we gave you was insufficient. I know you need a fix. And I hope, for your sake, that this impossible theory, because the reality just that.
He is co-signing the idea that the actual ending was complete failure that needs to be.
He's validating their denial. He's fueling the fire of dissatisfaction instead of putting an astonishing.
And the source mentions that this isn't a one-off thing. Modine has been kind of playing with satisfaction for a while.
Yeah, they point out that he had previously posted a clip of himself in character with the caption, waiting.
Which in fact,
well, the fans, they interpreted that as waiting for my cameo in the finale, waiting to come back and save the day. They thought, okay, Papa's going to come back and maybe sacrifice himself or give 11 the key to winning. A redemption arc.
But he never did. The cameo never happened. The source says kind of, which in this show usually means available for a cameo. But the source makes a really good point here about missed opportunity. They argue that even if Brenner is dead in the physical sense, this is stranger.
Right, the rules are different.
We have Vecna, we have mind flares, we have hallucinate. Rules of death are flexible, especially regarding
especially for a character who exists largely as a psychological tormentor for the protagonist. He's in her head anyway, dead or alive.
Exact. The source argues that Modine could have returned via flashback, easy way out, or, more interestingly, as a manipulation by Vecna.
Oh, that would have been.
Imagine Vecna using the face Papa, the face of her trauma to torment 11, or the other character, to try and break her spirit one last.
That would have been the emotional climax. 11 confronting her abuser or the memory of him. One last time to finally assert her independence. I mean, it writes itself. It fits the lore perfectly. It honors the character's history. The source calls it a clever route, but then they say, very cynically, no, that's too clever. The implication being that the showrunners missed the obvious emotionally resonant path in favor of, well, whatever confused mess we actually got.
So it's amazing to think that the actor himself seems to be looking at the final product and going, yeah, we missed the mark. We should have done this other better thing.
It seems that way.
Okay, so we have a legacy actor in Open Revolt. We have fans inventing imaginary episodes just to cope. But if you want to understand why the story felt so broken, why the plot seemed to have holes you could drive a truck through, our source points to something that happened off screen, or rather on a stage in London, New York.
Yeah, stage play. Stranger Things, the first shadow. This is where the business strategy really starts to cannibalize the story.
This part blows my mind. I honestly didn't know this was a requirement. So apparently there's this Broadway/West End play that serves as a prequel.
Correct. It explains the origin of Henry Creel, who, becomes Vecna.
And it's canon, like official story.
100% canon. It's written by the original creative. This is not just a fun side project. It's narrative infrastructure. It's the foundation for the final.
And according to our source material, if you didn't see this play, season 5 made absolutely no sense.
That's the argument. And it highlights a massive, massive structural failure in modern franchise storytelling. The source describes the viewing experience for non-play watchers as being completely clueless.
That's a direct quote, right? Completely clueless, like what the F's going on?
That's the quote, and it rings true. They tell this anecdote about a specific fan in their circle, a guy they call Squid King.
Squid King. It's a great name. Sounds like an aquatic superhero.
It does. And apparently, in their group discussion of the finale, Squid King was the only one who understood what was happening. The only one.
Why? What did he know that everyone else did?
He had read the plot summary of the stage play beforehand. He did the required reading.
Think about how damning that is for a mass market television show. I mean, just stop and think about that.
It's insane.
You are producing a global series for Netflix. You have viewers in India, Brazil, Kansas, Germany, rural Japan, millions and millions. And to understand the conclusion of your 5-season arc, you needed to have booked a ticket to a theater in the West End or on Broadway, which cost hundreds.
If you can even get a ticket.
Or you had to spend hours reading leaked plot summaries on a neat forum.
It's homework. They gave the audience homework, but didn't tell them it was on the test until they were failing. It's narrative gatekeeping.
That's a great way to put it.
And the source points out that this created a massive disconnect where the vast majority of the audience was just watching things happen with no context. Why is Vecna doing this? What is his real motivation? How does the magic system work now? All the answers were the play. If you didn't see the play, you're just watching noise and lights.
And it seems like Netflix realized, but they
way too late. Our source calls it the panic button moment.
Yeah. This is where the corporate scrambling becomes visible to the public. It's fascinating. The source reports that after the backlash to season 5 started rolling in, after people started complaining that the story didn't make sense, Netflix suddenly announced they are filming the stage
to release on the platform.
Release on the platform. But look at the timing. This wasn't a planned release. This wasn't on the roadmap for the Summer of Stranger Things or whatever.
Yeah. This was a fire alarm. The source notes a very specific detail that proves the panic. They note that performances of the play scheduled for February 10th through the 14th were abruptly canceled.
Canceled, just like that. People had tickets, hotels booked, flights, planned to go see this thing.
All canceled to accommodate emergency filming. You do not cancel a week of Broadway revenue. We're talking millions of dollars, unless you are desperate. This wasn't a, let's capture this for posterity artistic decision.
No, this was the building is on fire.
It was, as the source describes, a how can we save this decision. It's pure damage control.
It feels like they looked at Twitter, saw everyone confused about Henry Creel, and some executive yelled, "Quick, get the cameras to the theater. We need to show them the prequel so they understand the sequel we just released."
It's the definition of too little too late. The source argues this should have dropped before season 5. It should have been the primer. It should have been treated as season 4.5 or a special event.
Required viewing.
Right. Releasing it now?
Yeah.
It's just retroactive continuity. It's trying to explain a joke after nobody laughed. It doesn't make the joke funny. It just makes the silence more awkward.
And it creates even more confusion, doesn't it? Because of the act, it's not the same people.
That's another huge problem. This is a visual medium. We attached a face. In the show, Vecna, or Henry Creel, is played by Jamie Campbell Bower. He is the face of evil in that show. He's fantastic in the role.
It's terrifying.
But the play has a different cast. It's stage actors playing young versions of these characters, like Hopper and Joyce and Henry.
And the source mentions Jamie Campbell Bower was seen at the show. He was supporting it.
He attended, sure. But the filming is likely using the stage cast because they know the blocking. They know the lines. They've been doing it every night for months. So now you're asking the TV audience, who are already confused and angry, to watch a filmed play with different actors to explain the plot holes of the show they just watched with the original act.
It breaks the immersion completely. It feels like a fan film at that point, doesn't it?
It does. It feels disconnected. The source notes that even if they tried to shoehorn Jamie Campbell Bower in for a cameo in the filmed play, it would be weird. And if they don't, it's disjointed. It just reinforces this idea that the franchise planning completely fell apart.
The left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing.
Or rather, the left hand put the crucial plot points in a theater in New York, and the right hand forgot to tell the Netflix subscribers they needed to fly there.
Which leads us to the bigger why split the story across a play and a show? Why rush the filming? Why does it feel like there are suddenly cartoons and spin-offs everywhere? The source uses a phrase that comes up a lot in cash grab.
The gross cash grab, to be specific.
And that's a quote, isn't it? That's not just the source being mean. That's a direct quote from the creators themselves.
It is. And it's a quote that is coming back to haunt. The source reminds us that the Duffer Brothers, the creator, previously went on record in multiple interviews. They said quite explicitly that a sequel or spin-off would feel like a gross cash grab.
They were very artistic about it. They built up all this trust. We are telling one story. We don't want to dilute the brand.
Yeah.
All the right things to say to make you believe in their vision.
And we did believe them.
Cheers.
And now
we have the play.
We have a live-action spin-off in the works. We have an animated series announced. We have the filmed play. We have, endless merchandise tie-ins. The one story has suddenly become a content ecosystem.
The source says they are milking this thing until they can't.
It feels like a cynical shift.
Yeah.
And it resonates with the audience because it feels like a betrayal of that original prompt. The audience feels like they were sold a story, but now they are being sold a product.
They feel like the cow being milked, to use their analogy.
Essentially. And this feeling of betrayal, this is where the source makes a very heavy comparison. They call this whole fiasco the Gen Z Last Jedi.
Ooh, that is a heavy comparison. For those who don't follow the Star Wars drama, The Last Jedi is famous or infamous for dividing a fan base so deeply that it essentially broke the discourse.
It turned fans against creators, fans against fans. It was a civil war.
So why does the source think Stranger Things is at that level? Is it really that serious?
I think it's about the cultural monolith aspect.
Yeah.
Stranger Things was for Gen Z what the original Star Wars trilogy was for Gen X or Boomer. It was their thing. It was the water cooler show before we had water coolers anymore. It was the show everyone agreed on.
It was a unifying cultural force.
It was. And the source argues that this finale and this chaotic aftermath is the moment they broke the fandom. They shattered that unity.
They say the audience is now checked out.
Yeah. And that's the real danger for now. Anger is one thing. Fans who are angry are still engaging. They are tweeting. They are making videos. They are writing essays. But being checked out, that's apathy.
And apathy is death.
It is death for a franchise. When the audience looks at the upcoming spin-offs and just says, meh, I don't care anymore, that is billions of dollars in potential revenue just evaporating into thin air.
They also compare it to another Netflix property, The Witcher.
Another cautionary tale in franchise building.
Yeah. The source says Netflix tried to build a whole Witcher cinematic universe, prequels, anime spin-offs.
Yeah.
But they destroyed the show within 2 seasons by deviating from the source material and alienating the core fans.
And the star, Henry Cavill, walked away.
He did. And now, nobody cares about the Witcher universe. It's dead in the water.
It's the pattern of trying to scale up before you stuck the land. You're building a penthouse on a foundation that is cracked. With Stranger Things, the source points out this issue of canon confusion, which is a direct result of this panic.
This drove me crazy just reading about it, the new character.
So with the animated series and spin-offs coming, the studio is promising to add new characters who are always there.
In Hawkins. Yeah. The whole time. But we never saw them for 5 seasons. We never heard of them. They were just, hiding behind a bush in the Upside Down?
Exactly. The source's critique is beautifully simple. That doesn't make any sense. It breaks the suspension of disbelief. You can't turn around after 50-plus hours of television and say, oh, by the way, here's this other group of kids who are also fighting monsters in Hawkins. We just didn't mention them because the camera wasn't pointed that way.
It's gaslighting the audience. It's telling us our memory of the show is wrong.
It is. And it just screams of corporate mandates. It smells like a boardroom. We need more IP. We need more toys to sell. So let's invent some always there characters to justify a new show.
It dilutes the stakes.
Completely. It dilutes the stakes of the original series because it implies the main characters weren't as unique or special as we thought. If everyone in Hawkins was fighting monsters, then Mike and Dustin aren't special. They're just part of a crowd.
And speaking of new shows, we have to talk about the cartoon.
We really do. This is where the Clownfish TV hosts get almost nostalgic, but in a horrified way.
It's a very specific kind of horror. Because the source goes off on this. They compare the planned Stranger Things cartoon to the era of Saturday morning cartoons in the 1980s.
A very specific, very weird era of television. The Wild West, the license.
The source calls it dumb shit, their words, not mine. And they bring up these incredible examples like Happy Days and Mr. T.
This is a great historical parallel. Back in the 80s, when a property was huge, the studios would make a cartoon out of it, regardless of whether it made any sense tonally. It was about brand recognition, not logic. The source recalls the Happy Days cartoon.
Please explain. Happy Days, the show about a 50s diner and the Fonz. It was a grounded sitcom about teenage. That's it.
That's it. But the cartoon, the source details it. It involved time travel, a UFO lady from the future, and a talking dog named Mr. Cool.
What? The Fonz had a time and a talking.
Essentially, they took the characters, Fonz, Richie, Potsy, and just threw them into a sci-fi blender because sci-fi was popular with kids. It had absolutely nothing to do with the original show other than the names and the leather jacket.
That is genuinely baffling. And the Mr. T cartoon where he leads a gymnastics team?
Yes, Mr. T, the toughest guy on TV, the guy from the A-Team. I pity the fool. And in the cartoon, he is driving around the country in a bus with a team of gymnasts solving mysteries.
That sounds incredible, actually. I would watch that right now.
It's incredible in a so bad it's good way. The source has this great aside where they imagine the executives sitting around a table in 1983 saying, what's popular with kids? Gymnastics. Mary Lou Retton. Okay, Mr. T has a gymnastics team now. Print it.
It sounds absurd. It sounds like a parody of itself.
It is absurd. But the source's argument is that the planned Stranger Things cartoon feels like a regression to this Zach mindset. Just taking the brand, hey, kids like Demogorgons, and making content to keep it on TV, even if it dilutes the quality and makes no sense.
It's content for content's sake.
They are worried it's going to be that level of dumb. Like, let's give 11 a talking squirrel and have them solve crimes on Mars or something. It just devalues the original.
Jumping the shark.
Which, ironically, is a phrase that comes from Happy Days. When the Fonz literally jumped over a shark on water skis, that was the moment everyone knew the show had lost its way.
And the source asks a really pertinent question here. Is it possible to unjump the shark? Once you've gone to the gymnastics team, can you go back to being serious, prestige, drama?
And the consensus is a resounding no. You can't. Once you've introduced the time-traveling UFO lady, or in this case, the disjointed play, the Nope from Papa, and the always there invisible characters, you can't go back to being the cool prestige mystery show.
You've broken the spell.
You've shown the zipper on the monster suit. The illusion is gone.
So we have the cast revolting, the plot is broken by a stage play nobody saw, and a cartoon that sounds like a bad 80s trip is on the way. The big question is, how did this happen? These are the Duffer Brothers. They were the Golden Boys. They wrote season 1, which was, I think we can all agree, pretty much perfect. It was tight, it was emotional, it was brilliant. What changed?
The source has a theory about the behind-the-scenes dynamic, and it involves the studio system and the allure of the next big thing.
The Paramount deal.
This is a common phenomenon in Hollywood. You can call it senioritis for showrunners. The source speculates that the Duffer Brothers secured a massive overall deal with Paramount for their next project. Movies, new franchises, a clean slate.
So they mentally moved on, before this one was even finished.
That's the theory. They got the bag, as it were. The financial security was locked in. The prestige was locked in.
Right.
And the focus shifted from, we need to make Stranger Things perfect because our entire careers depend on it, to, we need to wrap this up so we can go do our Paramount movie.
The source describes it as a feeling of, let's just wrap this up. A sense of obligation rather than passion.
And we've seen this before, haven't we? Think about Game of Thrones. The accusation there was that the showrunners, Benioff and Weiss, were rushing to get to their Star Wars deal.
Right.
They shortened the final seasons, they sped up the travel times, they ignored character arcs because they were already mentally in a galaxy far, far away.
A deal which they eventually lost because of the backlash to Thrones.
Ironically, yes, but the damage was done. When creators lose focus before the finish line, when they're looking at the exit door, the details suffer, the logic suffers. You stop fighting for the difficult narrative choices and you start taking the easy ones.
You stop debating in the writer's room and you start saying, good enough, let's shoot it.
Exactly. And speaking of logic stuff, we have to address the desert dimension.
Oh, this is a stinging critique. This is where the source really gets into the weeds of world or the lack there. The source mentions a specific writer, Kate Triffray, and a bad idea regarding dimensions.
Right. So Dimension X is supposed to be this terrifying alternate reality where all the monsters come from. It's the home base of evil, the heart of the hive mind.
It's the source of everything. But the critique is that the writers decided Dimension X just a desert.
Just sand, just endless red dunes.
Yeah.
And the source points out the massive logical fallacy. If it's just a desert, where do the Demogorgons come from? What do they eat? A desert ecosystem does not support an apex predator army.
It's biology 101. Predators need prey needs vegetation or something to eat. You can't have 1,000 lions living in a sandbox with no gazelles. It makes
zero sense. And the source claims the response from the production side was basically, who cares? The source says they don't give up.
That's hard. But when you watch a show that built its reputation on detailed lore, on Dungeons & Dragons specificity, and suddenly the lore is it's just a desert, don't ask questions, it feels like they stopped trying.
It feels like checking a box. Okay, they go to the dimension, check. Does it look scary? Sure, deserts can be scary. Next scene. It lacks the texture that made the early seasons so immersive. Remember the upside down in season 1? The spores, the slime, the atmosphere. It felt alive. A desert just feels empty. And frankly, cheap.
So given all this, is there any hope? Is the franchise just broken forever? The source proposes a radical, and they call it pulling an Evangelion.
I loved this reference. It's so niche, but so perfect for the situation. Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Okay, for those of us who don't know anime, and that includes me until about 10 minutes ago, what does that mean? What is pulling an Evangelion?
So Evangelion is a legendary, and I mean legendary, anime from the 90s. It had a notorious TV ending that was abstract, low budget, and deeply confused. It basically took place entirely in the main character's mind with like pencil sketches. The fans absolutely hated it.
Sounds familiar.
They set death threats.
Yeah.
There was a cultural meltdown in Japan. So a year or so later, the creator made a movie, The End of Evangelion. It was a huge theatrical release that completely remade the finale. It had high stakes, incredible visuals, and a definitive, if incredibly traumatizing, conclusion.
The source mentions turning everybody into Tang.
Yes, that's a famous visual from the movie. The human race dissolves into this collective orange liquid that looks like the drink tank. It's a whole thing about collective consciousness. But the point is, the source suggests Netflix should scrap the ending we got, or at least the second half of Season 5, and remake it as a feature film.
To give the fans a better ending.
A real ending.
A do-over. Do you think there is any universe where that actually happens? A Stranger Things movie finale?
Highly, highly unlikely. It's expensive, it's a massive public admission of failure, and the actors are all moving on. Millie Bobby Brown is a huge movie star. The kids are growing up. They're practically adults. The logistics are a nightmare.
But the fact that it's even being suggested.
The fact that fans are seriously discussing a remake of a season that just came out, it shows you how deep the dissatisfaction runs. They're bargaining for a do-over. They want this Snyder cut of Stranger.
So let's try and summarize the wreckage. We have Matthew Modine, Papa himself, saying nope to the finale and publicly hoping for a fake episode to save the day.
Unprecedented.
We have a prequel play that contained essential plot information but was locked behind a Broadway ticket, causing the TV show to make no sense to 99% of its audience.
A critical error.
We have Netflix scrambling to film that play, canceling live performances to do it, in a desperate retroactive bid to plug the plot holes they created.
Damage control in real time.
And we have a looming future of cartoons and spin-offs that the source compares to the worst of 80s cash grabs like the Happy.
It is a textbook example of mismanaging a cultural asset. You took a diamond and you smashed it with a hammer to see if you could sell the shards.
The source calls it a missed opportunity.
A huge one. And they argue it killed the hype for everything that comes next. If the main story crashes and burns, why would you board the spinoff? If the foundation is rotten, you don't buy the penthouse.
That's the real tragedy here, isn't it? Stranger Things was special. It was the show that everyone agreed on. It was cross-generational. My parents watched it, kids watch it. And to hear it described as the Gen Z Last Jedi, that stings. It feels like the end of an era.
It really does. And it raises a really provocative question for us to leave with the listener today. We invest years of our lives in these stories. We buy the merch, we theorize on Reddit, we wear the t-shirts, we go to the pop-up experiences. We care.
We really.
But if a franchise jumps the shark at the very end, literally in the last few hours of a decade-long story, does it ruin the journey that came before?
That's the question. Can you rewatch Season 1 when the boys are playing D&D in the basement and everything is full of wonder and mystery if you know that Season 5 ends in a nope, does it poison the well?
And furthermore, when a studio tries to fix a story with retroactive content like rushing out a filmed play to fill plot holes, are they actually serving the fans? Are they trying to honor the story? Or are they just trying to protect the stock value of their intellectual property?
Are they storytelling or are they asset management?
Exactly. And I think, after all this, the fans know the difference.
Something to think about next time you scroll past that Watch Now banner. Thanks for diving deep with us.
See you next time.